Hey guys, this is actually part 2 of chapter 8 of the GollyWhopper games. If you didn't hear the first part, please go back and play the other video first. This is just a very long chapter, so I wanted to split it into 2 parts. Alright, we're starting on page 76 in chapter 8, kind of in the middle of the page. He added the 6 numbers. He added them again and a third time, then wrote 1,314 on a clean piece of paper. Time for the final part. The number of different toys and games Golly introduced in its first year of business. How many? This was the most important question of all, the multiplier. Gil closed his eyes and mentally opened the first notebook. Page 3 at the bottom. He read those words a million times. In the first year, introduced one new project each month. Gil set up the equation, did his multiplication 3 times, then punched the number into his keypad. 15768. Enter. He leaned back and allowed the tiniest smile to brush his lips. He knew the exact answer for each question except one, and no one knew that answer unless... Why did Rocky keep darting his head toward the stands? Mr. Titus was there, moving his stare along the desks at the far end of the field. He turned his head straight forward, whipped out a pen and paper, and scribbled something. Then he rubbed his nose and touched his chin and pulled his ear like baseball managers do when they flash signals to their players. He stopped and nodded. Rocky entered the number into his keypad, then reclined in his desk chair, tossed his arms over his chest like he had just finished Thanksgiving dinner. Gil couldn't look at Rocky anymore. He shifted his gaze away. About 8 yards up, that rich kid, Thorn, was digging a finger in his ear. Gross. But it was like looking at roadkill. Gil couldn't tear his eyes away. Instead of a sticky ball of wax, Thorn removed a flesh-colored blob. A hearing aid? So the rich kid wasn't perfect. Thorn examined the earpiece, flicked it twice, then replaced it in his ear. Wait a minute, who needed a hearing aid to think? All Gil could do was laugh, or else he'd scream. Here he was, worried about borrowing some random number from his dad, when those two... Forget them. He still had a chance. A good one. A couple minutes later, the keypads went dead. The microphone came alive. Please stay seated and silent, said Randy. We'll be back to you in a matter of minutes. That's all the time it took. Bert Gollywhop strode to center stage, holding an envelope and a microphone. I'm Bert Gollywhop, your host for the GollyWhopper games, and... Stop the happy talk, Gil said under his breath. Say something important. Inside this envelope, Mr. GollyWhop said, as if reading Gil's mind, are the numbers of the semifinalists, the 10 who came closest to our number, 15,900. Gil did some quick figuring, missed it by only 132. That had to be close enough. Had to. We will call contestant numbers starting with the closest to the correct answer. If I call the number on your shirt, please join me on stage. Come on, say my number, 24682. Say it, and said Gil under his breath. Here goes. Say it, 24682. Say it. Number 17827. Some guy from the other side of the field shouted and bounded onto the stage. Number 00001. Big surprise. Thorn ambled up like his mom called him to dinner, and he wasn't hungry. Number 03702. A short boy came from behind him. The kid looked 8 years old. Number 18643. Rocky's father figured it right. Rocky galloped up with fists punching the air. Number 10035. A shriek came from somewhere. Man, that girl was cute. Number 24683. 1 off. Who? Bianca? Did she make it? Gil almost fell off his chair. Number 09431. The genius girl with the overprotective mom. Number 24682. Bingo! Gil didn't remember getting to his feet and didn't know how he got to the stage. All he knew was that he was up there. He did it. He did it. Gil found himself turning in circles, shaking hands, hugging Bianca, getting hugs from the other girls, back-patting Rocky, not caring that he was such a cheater. He high-fived a brown-haired girl, and a guy with curly hair followed him up there. Curly guy started making a beeline for Bianca, but a man in a green vest stopped him. Another green-vested person herded Gil and Bianca to seats behind a long table on one side of the stage next to Thorn, Rocky, and Genius Girl. The remaining 5 contestants sat at a table on the other side of the stage. Bert Gollywhop thanked everyone still at their desks and instructed them to pick up their signed Scorch CD and $100 in cash as they exited. $100? That would probably mean nothing to Thorn, but if Gil could come away with $100 in cash, jackpot. Mr. Gollywhop addressed the wave of reporters and TV cameras and rolled toward the stage. Let me introduce you to our survivors. From the cards in his hand, he read off the names of the 5 kids to his right, and to my left, Thornton Do It For Me. For me. Rocky Titus, Lavinia Plotter, Bianca LeBlanc, and he quick turned his head at Gil, then turned back. Gil Goodson, he said, his voice half a note higher. Excuse me, he said, picking up a glass of water. I think I may have swallowed a bug. A few people laughed, but Gil just smiled. Mr. Gollywhop cleared his throat. All right now. We'll take 15 minutes for questions from the press and let these kids go. It's been a long day. Bert Gollywhop's stare zeroed in on a local reporter who had been particularly nasty to Gil's family in the past. Please ask general questions that can and will be answered by all of our contestants. The local reporter gave a slight nod back. How old are each of you? He yelled out. Bert Gollywhop exhaled before he cleared his throat. We'll begin with the young lady to my far right. All 10 answered. Lights shone in their eyes. TV cameras pointed toward their faces, and photographers clicked away. The questions came fast and furious. Where do you live? Describe your feelings in one word. Do you think you'll get any sleep tonight? What will you do if you win it all? Gil fell into step, hoping the questions would remain easy, and they did. When the press conference ended, Mr. Gollywhop came from behind his podium and faced the 10 of them. Those of you who don't already have hotel accommodations in town, please see my assistant over there. We'll make arrangements. Also, see her if you need extra tickets for additional family members, and try to get a good night's sleep. You need to be at Golly headquarters tomorrow morning by 9 o'clock, with parent or guardian, and dressed comfortably for competition. He looked at Bianca's shoes. You might want to rethink those high heels, young lady. Bianca laughed. Now I want each of you to look at the others at your table. The 5 of you need to become best friends because you're now a team, and you'll be competing against the other 5. That's all I can tell you. Before you leave, take a minute to introduce yourselves. They stood and formed a little circle, but Gil didn't listen to the introductions. Instead, he studied his team. Bianca. Bianca was great. Bianca made him smile, and maybe she knew more than it seemed. Somehow she'd made it on stage. Lavinia was the biggest question mark. Gil hoped her mother was cautious because she wanted to protect a genius-sized brain and not because she was a 6-year-old in disguise. Rocky looked even stronger than he used to be. Great if there were physical challenges, but the team needed to stop him from cheating or they'd all risk elimination. Thorn? Ditto on the cheating. The cheating. Gil had to do something about the cheating. He'd tell someone, but who would believe him? Bianca might, or Bianca might yell, reporters might come running, and Gil might have to answer thousands of questions. He'd figure out something by tomorrow. Gil got an extra ticket for his mom, then walked toward the stands with Bianca and Lavinia. Okay, Bianca, he said, how'd you figure out that last question? It was easy, she said. I mean, it was hard. I figured out most of it and came up with the 14,000 something, but the number didn't feel lucky, so I went with some luckier numbers. I used my age today, 15, then 8 because my birthday is in 8 days, plus 16 because that's how old I'll be, 15,816. Get it? Gil shook his head. Maybe Bianca was smarter than he thought. At least her luck was beyond belief. If only it would hold out through tomorrow and rub off on him. If only. Gil saw something shining where the field met the track. A lucky penny, he said. If only it were lucky enough to get him out of this cheating mess. It wasn't so much Rocky who concerned him. He could probably handle Rocky. He didn't know about Thorn. Gil reached for the penny, fumbled it between his sweaty fingers, and it pinged against the track. He picked it up again and smiled. Yeah, now he could deal with Thorn.